What's good, YouTube? Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis coming to y'all with a quick video on Carmelo Anthony potentially being bought out by the Oklahoma City Thunder. Russell, Paul George, and Carmelo was supposed to be the next big three in Oklahoma City. They were supposed to be the best team to challenge the Warriors. They had Steven Adams, they had Robertson, they had PG, and they had Carmelo with the reigning MVP and Russell Westbrook, and they were supposed to take over the NBA. There was a lot of hype around this team. People thought they'd be amazing. You put some shooters around Russell, he can kick it out to shooters. You can't double team him. Plus, he can play the pick and roll with Steven Adams, dump it off of him, get layups and dunks. Not only that, he can pull up for that jumper or knock down the three every once in a while. But if none of that works, worst case scenario, he kicks out kicks out the ball for a 3-point shot. And they even added Patrick Patterson too, where he was a stretch 4, stretch 5 sometimes. So this team had a little bit of versatility. I want to talk about Carmelo Anthony a lot in this video because I think he was a little underrated. He gave you 16 points a game. People was crucifying him basically all season. But if you look at his career averages, he was around the same numbers. 40% is about what he's either 45 or lower. He never been a Kevin Durant or a LeBron James type of scorer. He always been a 45 or below field goal percentage shooter. But people would say 40% is his lowest. Well, he played more off the ball, more catch and shoot. He didn't get the opportunities and the looks that he really wanted to get. He got the opportunities that was given to him, and he's not the guy no more in OKC, so he has to fit in with the other players around him and sacrifice for the team. He didn't play that well because they was learning how to play with each other throughout the season. I know this is your career high, but you also got to think he wasn't as explosive and he wasn't as good of a scorer no more because of his age and his decline athletically. He is 34 years old. He's not a 25-year-old. And even if you look at his last couple seasons with the Knicks, he was shooting 43% and barely 36%, below 36% from three. 35% from three is actually one of the highest he has had in the last couple seasons. Besides last year when he shot 35.9. So the other season he shot 33 and 34%. So he was actually higher than the other seasons he played in New York. And on top of that, he took more attempts than he usually do. The last time he shot 6 attempts was the 2012-2013 season when he shot 6.2. His free throw percentage went down, but he only got 2.5 free throws a game. That's a career low. His ability not to have the ball or create shots off the dribble as much lowered his field goal percentage. Free throw percentage because he didn't get as many opportunities because he was either doing trail threes, spot up threes, or spot up mid range. He wasn't really handling the ball in isolation, which means he's not going to be able to create as many free throws as he would like because he doesn't have as many isolations and opportunity where he can go one-on-one. But he still gave you the 5.8 rebounds. Obviously, he was a better rebounder during his career, but 5.8 ain't bad when you have Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Steven Adams all getting rebounds and you're still able to accumulate almost 6 a game. I don't really think that's that bad. And then he give you 1.3 assists. Like I said, the ball ain't in his hands as much, so he doesn't make as many plays. I still think he should be a better passer. 1.3 assists is real bad. But this is a Russell Westbrook dominant team. He's the main assist guy on his roster, and they never was really one of the highest assist teams even before Carmelo came over here to Oklahoma City. But he still gave you 16 points a game, which isn't that bad for a guy that's potentially a fourth option on a good team. Remember, they had Steven Adams. I think he was playing better than Carmelo. And then you still have Paul George and Russ, who was all NBA and all-stars last season. So you don't expect him to give you 20 points a game being the fourth option. Like Klay Thompson is a third option. He's giving you 20 a game. He only gave you 4 points less, and he wasn't even the third best player on the roster. So that's a lot of points for a guy that isn't one of your guys that's taking the most shots. Carmelo, even if he shot 15 times a game, which is a lot, but considering that most of them would just catch and shoot, That's not that bad, but 40% from the field, that does look ugly when you're getting 15 shots a game and you're only knocking down 40% of them. That really does hurt your team, especially if it's a long rebound because he's a jump shooter that allows them to engage in transition and get layups and dunks because of your long misses. So I like Carmelo. I feel like he tried to make the best out of the situation. He's a tough guy to play with because he likes having the ball in his hands. And once he had to relieve that over to Russell as the primary decision maker, it's some growing pains. You have to get used to not having the ball. You have to get used to trying to fit in with a team that you never had play with these players on a full 82 game season. Um, and like I said, even Paul George, he didn't shoot that well from the field. They shot around the same percentage. Actually, I think Paul George shot just a little bit higher than him, and he wasn't really a natural beautiful fit with Russell either. And he had to get used to playing off the ball more because in Indiana he was the primary guy and the superstar of that team. So if you go back and look at the playoffs, he was the main person getting assists and threes and guarding the best player from time to time. So I think that if they buy him out, they still going to be over the luxury tax. They couldn't really control what Carmelo did because he had the ability to opt in and get his 27 million, which means that it didn't go as planned. If he would have opted out and took less money, he probably could stay in OKC because he still averaged 16 points and gave you decent percentages from the three and the rebounding. So it ain't like he was a scrub, one of the worst players in the league. He was actually okay for a 34-year-old. So I think that a lot of people overrated how bad Carmelo Anthony was. Yes, he had some terrible games. Yes, he had some bad shooting games, but he also gave you some decent games and some good games and some big shots. So you got to take the good with the bad. Like I said, he is a 34-year-old guy on a decline at the later end of his career. He's not going to be this dominant force that LeBron James is. LeBron James is a rare commodity. And Carmelo's game has always been a finesse type of game, but he also was able to rough and bang you up and get to the rim and give you that pick your poison, low post, high post jump shot. He's not getting that shot off as much because the NBA got more lankier, longer, and more athletic. He doesn't have the speed and the quickness to get the shots off. He doesn't have the accuracy to get those type of shots off. And on top of that, he's not really getting that many of those shots anyway. I think it's a bad shot now, too, because his ability not to really elevate as well as he used to get that quick little post up and just go straight up. He don't do it as fast. He doesn't have the explosion, and that's causing him to get blocked, and that's causing him to have tough jumpers. I think that we all expected him to be the Olympic Carmelo, where he was just shooting threes and shooting mid-range jumpers, and he was a perfect fit alongside the other stars. That's what we all thought. That was the best case scenario, and it didn't really happen the way that Sam Presti and Russell thought that it would happen. But this was inevitable. Either Carmelo Anthony was going to have to play out the rest of this season and become a free agent, or he was going to get bought out. We knew that going in because how bad they played together and how much money he was committed to. Carmelo Anthony, at the age that he's at the play that he was playing at, he is not worth 27, $28 million a year this year. So we all knew that this was going to happen sometime eventually. To me, if I was the Thunder, I would have just paid it to see, because at the end of the day, Andre Robertson wasn't healthy. You still went 6 games and you was one foul call away for potentially going to game 7 or going into overtime to force a game 7. And who knows what would have happened. Obviously, I didn't think that the Thunder was going to be a championship team because Carmelo is a defensive liability. He's not a good defender. He's not a good perimeter defender. And when they switch with Carmelo, he gets torched because he just not explosive and quick enough anymore. And, he's so slow footed and he doesn't have the lateral quickness that he used to have. He was a quick leaper. He was a decent shape. He was a guy that was big enough to, even if you could blow past him, he can put that body on you and slow you down or knock you off a little bit. He's big, but the guys are stronger and bigger too. And even if he played a power forward position, he has a height discrepancy. He's not tall enough to contest and make it tough for power forwards like he was 4 years ago when it really wasn't that many dominant power forwards in the East. Now he's in the West where everybody is big, everybody has a center, everybody has good point guards and guard play. He's not good because he can't switch and guard anybody. So this was just a tough reality wake up for Carmelo. He laughed about coming off the bench, and even though he probably can still give you 16 points off the bench and be potentially six man of the year, that's a role that he probably should have took. But I feel like he wasn't as bad as people thought. I thought he still was a starter because Jeremiah Grant, he just good. He's a better defender, but he doesn't have the 3-point shooting. He doesn't have the mid range shooting, but he is the better defender and the more versatile player at this point. But fit wise, Carmelo fits better with Russell than Grant. But Grant, he's going to be probably the starting guy. If not, it's probably going to be Patrick Patterson, who's a guy that can shoot the spot up three, doesn't need the ball to be effective, doesn't ask for the ball. They don't run any plays for him. His goal is just to step out at the 3-point line and check up threes and get rebounds and protect the paint as much as he can. Carmelo can do some of that, but he can't really protect the paint. So this was inevitable. We all knew it was going to happen. And now it's just breaking news, even though everybody in the world knew that Carmelo and Russ and Paul George wasn't the team that we thought. I would personally run it back because at the end of the day, with or without Carmelo, you're going to be paying the luxury tax anyway. This is the highest paid team in NBA history with $3 million. Just cutting Carmelo Anthony ain't going to solve that problem. They still going to owe millions of dollars, and you really want to know what you could have had got. You traded some valuable players for Carmelo Anthony, and if he walks away and gets stretched, that means you basically traded him for a bag of peanuts. You traded him for a 1-year rental of trying to see what he fit, and the next year you're going to buy him out and still pay him over the course of a couple seasons to just go play somewhere else and still get paid by them in you. And now you really don't get anything back from that trade because you couldn't trade them to get even a pick. You couldn't trade to even get him to get something for him. Instead, you're just going to release him a year earlier and let him walk to a championship contender, which could possibly be a Philly, could possibly be a Houston Rockets who've been wanting him for years. And that's a conference. That's a player that's going back to the conference. So he's going to remember getting released and not being wanted in OKC. And he might take that as a vengeance. If he goes to the Spurs or the Rockets or something like that, he's going to want to take it out on a team like OKC to show him that he still got it and show him that they should have kept him. And then they're going to regret it. And that could come back to bite on depending on the seeding of the playoffs and how they play in the regular season. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think he was overrated, underrated, terrible, a bench player, and he washed up? Or do you think he has something still left in the tank and contribute, but just in a lesser role like he had this year? Check out my website, analysisplayground.com. Link in the description, comment section below. Check out my Facebook page, analysisplayground.com. Like to show support. Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis. I'm gone. And let me know what you guys think about Carmelo Anthony signing, potentially out of OKC after one season.